everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Esquire's Man at His Best podcast. This is our weekly look at some of the biggest things that have happened this week in the world of men's lifestyle, including updates from our very own website and our magazine. So my name is Tom, and I'm the digital director of Esquire Middle East, and as per usual, I am joined by a very special guest. After all, what would a podcast be without a co-host? That would just be me talking to myself. And no one would find that interesting. Or would they? Perhaps we'll explore that in a future episode. But for today, I'm joined in the studio by Matthew Baxter-Priest, aka the editor-in-chief of Esquire Middle East. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm alright actually. I'm kind of smiling to myself about the idea of you having to do this by yourself. It's a good experiment. My schedule might get I might want to go on holiday, Tom. Mm-hmm. Do you think you could handle it by yourself?
I think I could get a mirror.
Fair.
And I would just talk at myself.
I imagine you monologuing is something that happens quite often.
Esquire's conversations with myself is a thing that I think might do well online.
I'm not gonna lie to you. It would be good. I think it might be better if we're both here, and I'm not trying to give myself too much credit for that.
Potentially, but if you are going to be here, then the podcast it'll just go on as it always has. So we're going to start first with a Audible roundup of what's crossed our desks this week, which, as you know, Matt, is where...
A lot.
Well, yes, is where you'll hear about everything from fashion, lifestyle, cars, tech, culture, a lot of random stuff, as well as a lot more.
Yeah, well, I think if you bring in all of those different fields of interest that we cover, you can imagine that the offices in Esquire are pretty busy. So, yeah, there's a lot to get through. We try to handpick this stuff out for you, and for everything else, you can go on the website that you quite handily run as part of your multiple tasks that you do here on Esquire.
Correct.
But basically, after that bit, then we're going to be moving on to something a little bit more substantial, shall we say. Regular listeners of the show will know that we have in our middle section of the show, it's part where we break down features that we've looked at in more depth. Now that's kind of normally what we do, but actually, as you're listening to this, we have just launched our May 2018 issue of Esquire Middle East magazine. And in that, we will be giving you an overview of what you can be looking forward to when you pick it up from the shops.
A sneak peek.
A sneak peek. We'll give you a little...
or a sneak listen, because obviously, unless you are watching...
Well, you can watch it. So if you are listening to this, then just go onto our youtube.com/Esquire Middle East page, and you can see Tom and myself in all our glory. I am wearing a fetching blue shirt, and Tom is wearing... burgundy, I think it is. How would you describe that?
Burgundy, maroon. Yes, and if you are watching us, that was redundant, as you can see.
Well, you can see that, and I'm waving at you right now. Hello.
Anyway, last but not least, we're going to be closing out the show with an interview with a man, sometimes a woman, that best represents the ideals that Esquire knows and loves. In this case, Matt, you were the one who took care of this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So this week's episode, or this week's section, is an interview with a WWE superstar called Aiden English. Now, the reason that is particularly relevant is this week, the WWE have been in Saudi Arabia, in Jeddah, for the greatest Royal Rumble event. It's a little bit of it's a completely new event. It's a little bit hard to get your brain around what it actually was. A live event on the WWE Network TV. We caught up with one of the wrestlers, a guy called Aiden English, and I asked him 10 questions on what makes it the greatest, or what is the greatest.
Yes, and I'm not sure if you know this, listeners, but Matt is a huge wrestling fan, whereas I am not. So you can look forward to that very one-sided conversation later on in the show.
What's not to like, Tom? What's not to like?
We'll see. You can try and convince me. So enough about that. Why don't we just start the show? So this is the news. Now, Matt, I'm not sure if you're aware. Not many people actually do know this, but there's a new Avengers film.
An Avenge what?
The Avengers. It's like the world's
yes,
greatest...
No, absolutely.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the world's biggest film franchise.
Yes, so it has officially, like the Hulk himself, or She-Hulk herself,
fair.
smashed all box office records.
So Avengers smash.
Yes, pretty much. So it made $250 million in the US over the weekend. In context, The Force Awakens did something around $190 US. So this is just US, the US market alone. But worldwide, which would include places like Dubai, it made $630 million.
Opening weekend.
Opening weekend, and the interesting thing is it has yet to open in China.
Well, okay. Is there any particular reason why China would be a big market? Is there any Chinese characters in it? Was it filmed in China? Or is it just because there's 1 billion people in China?
They love Marvel.
Yep.
They love Disney.
Yep.
They're building a whole new Disney World in China, which has its own little Marvel land.
Well, okay. So significant, that number of $630 million is expected to...
Well, if I were to drop some quick maths, let's say there's 7.5 billion people on the planet.
I like quick maths.
But 1.5 billion have not seen it. Then 6 billion people will have contributed to 630 million. So if you were to add another 1.5 billion, you'd expect another 150 million on top of that, at least.
You had me at quick maths.
So, yes, this film is going to make... It has already made an awful lot of money, and it's going to make a lot more.
Fantastic.
Have you seen it yet?
I'm not, because as you mentioned in the introduction, I may be a big wrestling fan, and you are not, but it's actually completely the inverse when it comes to superheroes.
I like popular culture, and Matt likes small little things like
exactly.
wrestling.
You like wide, mainstream, smashy, no attention span. I like the artistic work of and skills of choreographed wrestling.
Dancing.
Professional wrestling.
Dancing on stage.
It's a beautiful thing, Tom.
Anyway, so Ryan Reynolds, a.k.a. Deadpool, which is a Marvel character, but it's not part of the Marvel universe because Fox own the rights to it, not Disney and not Sony. He tweeted out kind of congratulations to all the Avengers team and included a rejection letter printed on Tony Stark Industries letterhead saying that Deadpool was not allowed to join the Avengers.
That pesky Reynolds with his fourth wall breaking.
Yeah, so his film is out later this year. It's definitely not going to break $630 million opening weekend, but it was, I think, the highest grossing rated R film in history.
Yeah, I believe so. Or the first or second, and I know it's actually out. Well, I know it's out next month.
Oh.
So sooner than we think. Whether that is in the UAE as well or in the Gulf region, we'll see. Sometimes the release dates can be a little bit staggered, but I know generally in the US it is. I like Ryan Reynolds. We had him on the cover once. It was for the first Deadpool. He was a delightful human being.
He seems quite funny.
Yeah, no, nice man. Nice family. That Blake Lively, she's not too bad either.
She is a talented thespian.
There you go.
Right, that's me done. Do you have any news?
I do actually, and it's more into the luxury segment, as you know. It's that's my the bit that that's the perks of the job. But the Conrad Hotel in the Maldives. Mm-hmm. Well, you've been to the Maldives.
I have. I enjoy the Maldives. There's something about the Maldives that just suits me quite well.
I can imagine what that is. It's the well, as beautiful as the Maldives all look on Instagram. The archipelago is full of 5-star properties with that boast those kind of picturesque overwater villas we've all seen, and I've stayed in a couple, and so have you, I believe.
Yes,
not together, but that Conrad have decided to do something slightly different. They've built a hotel room, not on the stilts, underneath the water.
An underwater hotel room.
That is exactly the case. So that's the Hotel Maldives Rangali Island, and it is the first underwater villa to be open. The hotel villa to be opened in the country, which isn't bad. I mean, it's not open at the moment. It will be opening later this year. I believe they've built it now that, working on
waterproofing it.
Yeah, well, you imagine they'd done that first up. But they've described it as a underwater residence. So it sits 5 meters below the water. I don't know why I'm doing that with my hands. That's about 2.5 foot, if you can see on the video, not 5 meters. But it's about 5 meters beneath the water. Will be open by the end of the year, and basically it allows kind of guests and customers staying there to wake up to the fishes, sleep with the fishes, if you will, Tom.
Does it have curtains?
I don't believe so. I've got it written down here somewhere. No, I don't believe it has curtains.
Because there's two things there.
Right.
One,
Right.
a lot of scuba diving in the Maldives, a lot of it. And if I was scuba diving,
Sure.
and I could scuba dive round an underwater like hotel room, I'd probably scuba over that way.
Yeah, I think that'd be. I would too. But
Two, fish, nosy.
yeah, fish are nosy, but
You
they
see
forget.
goldfish,
you see.
they're constantly looking.
Yeah, but they forget.
Yeah, but
so they
that's-
would go over, see you in your unmentionables, maybe just a nice little towel, and then
They're lucky.
and then they'd come back, forget, go back, forget, go back, forget. I mean, I'm not saying you're not memorable, but read into that as you will. Ask the fish.
Elephant sharks, never forget.
But basically, the idea of that going is it's a similar. It's like sleeping in a fish tank. So it is actually quite cool to not have those curtains. So you wake up with the fish. You literally sit there, and it's better than sitting down watching your telly. But is it better than sitting down watching youtube.com/Esquire Middle East?
Or is it better than watching? You can get screensavers now that move.
You could always get screensavers on move.
What if you had a pet fish?
Yeah.
You put it in a bowl.
Yeah.
Took that bowl into the underwater hotel room.
Yeah.
That would be a fish within a tank within a tank.
Yeah. That's a meta Inception fish holidays.
In
I
fishception.
reckon we could sell that. Let's be honest with that. Basically, the whole project was rumored to cost around $15 million to build and kind of secure, so it doesn't leak, so it is waterproof.
$15 million for one room.
It's the Maldives, Tom.
That's
It cost you half that just to get there.
Although true,
Doesn't
the
actually.
Maldives, they do have pretty strict regulations. So in order to build that hotel room, they would have had to kind of like transport all the coral on velvet cushions somewhere else. And I imagine no fish or coral were harmed in the making of this hotel room.
No, I mean, look, the country is very strict on its tourist regulations and how it develops there. Obviously, tourism is the massive economy driver there. There is a lot of concern about global warming in the country and how that affects the industry. So, gimmicks like this. Look, it's fun. We're talking about it. I'm actually very interested in seeing it. The same hotel actually have a restaurant that is also under the water.
Can I see the other people? If I wake up and I don't open my curtains because I don't have curtains, and there's a load of fish perving on me, I don't want a load of people in the restaurant having their eggs to also be perving on me.
No, well, the restaurant and the hotel are not next to each other.
Okay.
So I think there's sufficient enough distance away that you can't actually see each other, which is a bit of a bad point if you were staying in the room, because I would like to see what the buffet was serving up.
Fair.
Pre getting out of bed. I mean, that's next level.
That is fair.
So if you are listening, Conrad Maldives, take note.
Sort it
Sort it
out.
out. $15 million approximately worth of cost. Just get some kind of intercom phone system in there.
Get a phone. Get a phone. We will check whether or not this hotel has phones for next week, I think.
Cool. Closer to home, what's been happening, buddy?
Well, so there's been a few. There was a kind of one very, very big name that was in town this Saturday. Can you guess who this person is in business?
Oh, I was going to say I just got back, but
He's a business.
actually our fashion director Danny just got back from
He is a businessman.
a bit of a big name. No. Well, I tell a lie. I'll say no because it will help you segue into your story.
exposition
Who is that,
works.
Tom?
Well, that's actually Richard Branson.
Get out of town.
Sir Richard.
Sir Richard.
As well, not his friends, as the public in the UK are probably required by law to say.
He just
his
goes
name.
by Rich. Big Rich.
Sir Rich.
Sir Rich.
So
What was
anyway,
he doing in town?
He was in town. He was actually on the QE2, which some actually call a floating hotel. We prefer to call it a boat.
Yeah, there was something about that. The world's largest floating hotel opens. It's a boat. A very nice boat.
It's a boat, and that boat has got a convention center. And that convention center played host to none other than Richard Branson, as well as His Royal Highness Sheikh Mohammed this Saturday.
Okay.
So what they've kind of announced, we talked about this last week with Hyperloop, and you can move people around very, very quickly, and the idea is you go from Dubai to Abu Dhabi in 6 minutes. So Virgin has gotten involved and partnered up with DP World. So these guys manage a lot of the ports around the region.
Yep.
So again, a lot of cargo.
Yep, of course.
And what these guys have decided to do is launch something called Cargo Speed, which is joint DP World, a few kind of government ministries across the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and they want to essentially make it so you can order something from anywhere on the planet, and it will be delivered here in 48 hours.
Wow. Okay.
So that's anything. That's not like you're subscribed to a special service or, you know, you're using kind of a UPS next day delivery. This will just be the regular service. Will take, you order a toothbrush from Jakarta, it gets here within 48 hours.
I've heard those Indonesian toothbrushes are particularly top of the range.
Hand carved.
Handmade. Each bristle.
Anyway, so the idea is that this is kind of the reason why they have so many different kind of parts to this is because it's not just about putting something on a Hyperloop system. What they kind of want to do is utilize that entire network to move things around super, super quick.
Okay.
The reason why this is big news for here is because US ain't doing it, Europe ain't doing it, China probably doing it, but they don't tell anyone what they do.
They never tell anyone.
They don't tell anyone. Whereas we, in this region, we've decided, you know what, we're just going to do it. I'm going to tell everyone. And we're going to invite Richard Branson.
Whereas China don't tell anyone. We tell everyone.
Unless Chinese listeners.
Yeah, fair.
Then, no, they tell us everything.
Apologies to China.
Yes.
That's just, so basically what you're taking the world. Do you remember in those in like the 70s and they had those?
No, I don't remember the 70s.
It was probably even earlier than that. You see, Citizen Kane, where they had that tube system in.
Yeah, but those actually existed.
Yeah, no, exactly, exactly. Because it's basically that, but just on a regional / future to be global scale.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I don't have to go in it.
Well, it means, theoretically someone in China, our many listeners in China, who we love, respect, they could order an Esquire Middle East.
After going to watch the Avengers film.
After going to watch the Avengers film.
Yeah.
They want to hear about what we think about it.
Yep.
And then they'd be able to order one. And then 48 hours later, boom, it would pop up.
Boom. Okay.
I guess they could just go to the website.
Which is what, Tom?
SquireMe.com. But let's not beat down this concept before it's.
No, absolutely. It sounds fascinating, and literally to have the names, like Sir Richard Branson and Sheikh Mohammed being involved in that is, or at least adding their names to it. It makes things, gives it credibility, and it gives it real kind of weight. I'm interested to find out more. And where can I find out more, Tom? There you go.
That's all we know.
Stay tuned. I've got one for you. Last week we spoke a lot about a trip I went to Switzerland with Rolex. Now I'm, as you probably have guessed, we're quite big watch fans here at Esquire Middle East, and there is a bit of rumblings that came on the news on the old news wire today, where the world's leading watch and jewelry fair, Baselworld, where both you and I were.
I was at Baselworld
in March. That apparently, according to one of the most influential watch blogs in the world, Hodinkee, that may be on its last legs.
Well, it doesn't surprise me, because Baselworld, the sausages that they sell, the only thing you can eat at Baselworld is a sausage and a slice of bread.
I refuse to
And they cost something like €8 a sausage.
Yeah. Fair. Those prices are not exorbitant. I refuse to pay €24 for ramen, despite how delicious it is, and it is very delicious ramen. But basically, it's quite a controversial story. It's kind of been rumored, and people have been speaking about it. And I actually wrote an article about it last year after Baselworld 2017, just about that idea of, is this kind of idea of big watch trade fairs. Big trade fairs generally, are they on the outs due to kind of the development of technology, development of conference calls?
Well, are they?
Well, it's a tough one, because in the article on Hodinkee, one of the main sources that they go to are cab drivers.
Taxi drivers.
Taxi drivers.
And I assume that they've quoted the taxi driver and they have his name, his address, and
no, they say,
I would be able to contact him to
verify what they did. No, they literally say, cab driver I was in a car with said that we think this place is going to be done by 2020, and then they verified that by checking with a man they overheard talking on the tram. About that, so 2 verifications is it? But obviously they're watch experts over there. They were speaking to other CEOs, and I've previously spoken to other CEOs about the kind of future of it. And There is an argument to make. There's millions and millions of dirhams, Swiss francs, US dollars, whichever one you want to calculate in, put into these big trade fairs. For those who haven't been, and it is watch journalists, enthusiasts, buyers, it's the watch industry goes there globally around the world. There's hundreds and hundreds of watch brands, including Rolex, Omega, Patek, Tag Heuer, and jewelry brands as well there.
Yeah.
So the idea of those pumping that much money into the fair, how much return do they actually get? Just because we're used to it in the old kind of World's Fair, mode of doing business, it doesn't mean it needs to continue or is viable to continue. So these are all kind of companies that are going through a bit of a squeeze. So whether that's we should continue doing that it's an interesting point to bring up. But that's currently the talk of the watch world this morning.
But then Basel, Switzerland is a charming little place, but it's not quite Geneva. It's not quite Zurich. It's quite hard to get to. Would maybe Basel World should just move?
Oh, potentially.
No, they should move to here.
Dubai?
They should move to Dubai.
I am not against that idea.
Everyone can get here. We love watches. We love jewelry.
Weather's good.
Many convention centers.
And the sausages, Tom, do not cost €8.
Cheaper. Far, far cheaper sausages.
So, Mr. and Mrs. Baselworld,
listen up.
If you're listening, listen good. But it is worth noting that they point out in the article that apparently in the last 2 years, 850 exhibitors have left the show, most of them smaller ones who can't afford it, but which is basically a drop of 57% of exhibitors, according to Hodinkee. And they also claim that attendance has fallen 30% since 2014.
But is this from the taxi driver as well?
Well, this is from their journalists and reporters there. Whether they got that from the taxi driver? No, they haven't. They've stated that it comes from the statistics come from official sources. But there is that mood and sense that do the taxi drivers know, they get the feeling on the ground of what the exhibitors may not do.
Fair. I was in a taxi the other day, and the driver said he used to be a camel in a past life. Now, I just went, I don't believe you. But now, maybe I should write to Hodinkee and say, hey, I've got another story for you.
Well, it'd be a scoop.
And
reincarnation
They'll
scoop.
send their crack taxi interviewing team.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, that's the end of Baselworld for you. Have you got one more story for me?
I do. So there was a poll put together by YouGov, the pollsters YouGov, who surveyed millennials and asked them if they had ever heard or seen or could name a variety of objects that were commonplace in the 1990s.
Amazing.
So they showed more than 2,000 children photographs of different technologies and then asked them to write down what each one's name was. The results prove that kids these days, they know nothing.
Kids ain't got it.
They don't know anything.
2,000 kids don't know jack.
So this is what actually, they don't know what a pager is, certainly. So 86% of the people were shown a picture of a pager, and they went, I don't know what that is.
Really? Let's be honest, I never had a pager.
But I did watch a lot of medical dramas from the 90s.
Yeah.
And all the doctors got a pager.
But how do people these days get notified that they have to go make a public phone call from a payphone?
I'm pretty sure Grey's Anatomy, they probably use pagers.
It wouldn't exist, would it?
So other things, 71% didn't know what an overhead projector was.
But that's that's the feels right there.
Do
you remember when you walk into school, like into a classroom when you were at school, and the overhead projector was just sitting at the front, and you were just like, yeah.
Unless it was math.
This is going to be a good lesson.
Unless it was math, because then you'd have to do it together and they'd solve on the projector. You get those...
Yeah, but it was dark.
What do they call those transparent sheets? And then you could write on them?
Yeah, those.
Changed education.
Oh, I remember joys of life of getting the pens that you couldn't... what are the permanent markers?
Yeah.
Swapping those out.
Someone put a permanent marker.
Those were jokes.
So it is another interesting one. It's surprising, but also not surprising. So a lot of people recognized one object, but they recognized it incorrectly. In fact, most of the 2,000 children recognized this one thing, but they said it was X, when in actual fact it was Y.
And what's the thing?
A floppy disk.
Well, like the computer 3.5-inch.
Floppy disk. 67% were completely unaware of what a floppy disk was. However, a vast majority of them described it as the save icon.
The save icon?
So now the floppy disk, because it's kind of always been used as the save icon on Word or all the different projects, now kids are starting to. It's not a floppy disk. That's the save icon.
Yeah. You know what? That's a massively important one, because what about like the open new file? That's like an old manila yellow file.
Yeah.
But we don't use them anymore because we use computer files.
Pretty soon, kids will be you'll be walking around, maybe not with a floppy disk because we don't really use those anymore, but like a manila folder, and some intern, some millennial will go, why are you walking around with the open file icon?
Seriously? Merch idea. Floppy disk t-shirts. And it'd just be like, I don't know, save time or something. I don't know, save something.
That's a rubbish idea.
Well, no, but it's a working idea, work in progress.
So a little bit more. The list goes on. 26.
Producer Charlie's cracking up over there, so I've got something in there.
I think he's put his head in his hands. It's because he's forced to listen to this. 26% did not recognize a video cassette, a VHS tape. 23%. This is interesting. 23% did not know what a postcard was.
23% did not know what a postcard was.
They shown a picture of a postcard,
right?
And they couldn't recognize what it was.
Well, it depends really what the postcard is, because if it's just a picture of a picture.
I imagine these guys.
Did it say "wish you were here"?
These guys are professional poll people. I imagine they wouldn't have just shown a picture of a picture, because then they all would have gone, "That's an Instagram."
Fair. That's an Instagram. That's an Instagram print.
Now, 9% had never seen a disposable camera before, which is fair because I don't see them anymore.
Yeah, but when you say that, look, flip the statistics. You're basically saying that, was it 9%? So 91% have.
That's that's a very positive way.
Yeah, exactly.
To look at it.
I'm a positive, cheerful disposition kind of guy. And in fact, what's this? 67% was unaware of what a floppy disk were. If I could do maths, I would tell you that was 30, 40, 33, 33% that did.
But the question is this going to change? Because this, I was in Barcelona for the big mobile phone exhibition. Nokia unveiled some really kind of old school phones. Maybe vintage tech is on the way back.
New trend in
well,
tech.
Instagram, we use those filters and make it look like how images that old cameras used to take. Perhaps we're going to go backwards. Perhaps we will be using floppy disks.
Tell me you have a Polaroid at home.
Again, I don't have a Polaroid at home.
No, I do.
There you go. What's a Polaroid?
It's like a printable Instagram.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, that is all the news. That's all the news from me.
Yeah, cool. Me too.
So then, let's move on to the next bit.
Next bit, initiate. Right, so we're back after that delightful intermission. This week, as I said, I think we're doing things slightly differently. Normally on the podcast, what we do is we delve into one particular feature that we've been exploring, and we kind of go long form into it. This week, as you listen to this, if you listen to this as it's just out,
you're watching it.
Yeah, you're watching it. I mean, look, I'm going to date this now by saying it's early May 2018. Don't watch this in 2 years; it'll be weird. But we have just released, or classic with Instagram film. We have just released the May 2018 issue of Esquire Middle East. Yay! Now the cover is the Hollywood A-list actor Luke Evans.
He's Welsh.
Yes, he's Welsh. Yes, well, you'll on that. The point is, he is Welsh. But in the issue, we look at multiple different things. It's very kind of summer style heavy. Things are getting quite hot at the moment. This morning, Tom, it was 40 degrees by 9 a.m. So for those watching or listening, that's the kind of temperature that's happening in Dubai in 2018 at the moment. Summer seems to have come very early. But we do focus on a lot of kind of new trends, new styles, new fabrics, and what you can wear to kind of still look stylish in the heat over here in the Gulf, and also elsewhere if you're going on holiday to places that are warm.
Surely the best way to stay stylish in the heat is to go inside.
Well, you can do that, but who wants to stay inside for 3 months?
Well, if it's really hot, everyone.
Yeah, fair. Lovely windows. Make sure you have windows. Elsewhere in the magazine, we just spoke about it, Baselworld. So you and I were in Baselworld. We review our picks from that trade fair.
Yes, lots of nice new watches, lots of nice new expensive watches.
What's your top line away from that?
The big thing was Rolex released a It's, what was it? It's GMT Master 2,
Yep.
which is referred to as the Pepsi Cola, which has got a bezel with blue and red, or blue and maroon, or blue and burgundy, depending. It's the same color as this shirt, for those watching along. But then Tudor also announced...
But the main thing about it was the steel. It was in steel, right?
It was in steel.
Yeah.
And Tudor also announced its Black Bay GMT with a blue and red bezel on steel. They look mightily similar.
So, to people who may not know that much about watches, and fair enough, there's a lot to know about watches. Why is that? To me, or to not to me, but to some people, that may sound like two companies have just released the same product. Why? What's the difference there between the two? The Rolex GMT Master 2 with the blue and red bezel, and the Tudor Black Bay.
There's like an 80% price difference.
Right.
But both are made effectively by the same family.
Fine.
So that's what had people talking.
So is it more of a, if you're of one price point, you really want to buy this, it's a high, in very, very high demand, this Rolex, but maybe if you're not up to that price point, then the Tudor is more than worthy as a substitute.
There's a little bit of that, but also I can't imagine Tudor running out of their Black Bay GMTs, whereas there's probably already a waiting list for the Rolex ones. I mean, in a way, it's kind of smart. If you can't get one, then you may as well get the other, I guess. I mean, I'd like the Rolex. Probably end up getting the Tudor.
No, fair. I've already literally probably pre-ordered my Tudor. So that's that. We'll if you want to learn more about Tom and my pick from Baselworld, it's all in the issue. Moving on elsewhere, there was an interesting new trend in men's cosmetic surgery. Tom, do you know which part of the body that men are apparently getting work done?
Ankles.
No,
because a lot of socks are out, ankles are in.
Fair.
You have weird ankles, cankles even. Maybe you want to like lipo your ankles.
I mean, it's
lipe ankles.
I mean, it's a thought. I mean, it's not right, but yeah. I mean, fair enough. Points for creativity.
Not yet, but again,
not yet. But it is the chin.
The chin.
Apparently, a lot of men are getting chin work done.
What? Like making it bigger?
Making it more defined. I think a lot of people can be quite sensitive to chin. Having a strong, manly chin has always been one of Hollywood's go-to casting kind of requirements, isn't it? If you think of Christopher Reeves as Superman, and
all right,
basically every Batman that's ever existed.
Who has a weak chin in Hollywood?
Well, that's your point, isn't it? I'm sure I could think of it, and nothing comes to mind. But isn't that your point? Isn't people on screen have this kind of majestic look? That's what men should have. These kind of broad-jawed, maybe that little bum chin, or that little crevice that people get in there.
Yeah, what's his face has? Batman's got that.
Which Batman?
All of them.
Bale's
got it.
Christian Bale. What nationality is Christian Bale from?
Christian Bale's also Welsh.
He's Welsh. Well, funny that, because going back to our cover star of Luke Evans, who is Welsh, we were in London. We flew over to London to shoot him a couple of weeks ago, and he is an absolute delightful man. For those, just to cue into Luke Evans, you will know him from, he was in The Hobbit. Mm-hmm. He was Bard the Bowman. He was in The Fast and Furious.
He's also just one of many, many, many famous Welsh actors, I might add.
Well, yeah, you see, this is the point. So
there's so many.
It was a question, because you are Welsh, for people who wouldn't recognize Tom's accent, he grew up in Asia, but his parents are both Welsh. I have far too many Welsh friends who just will not stop going on about being Welsh. And it's not like it's not an annoying thing. It's just more of a case of, if you're ever watching something with someone who's Welsh, like an Anthony Hopkins or Catherine Zeta-Jones or a Christian Bale
or Luke Evans.
The Welsh person in the room will just point out to you, oh, he's Welsh, almost without fail. So I actually asked Luke Evans about that, and it was he was in Rome at the time, and he told me on the phone. He said, he cracked up and he said, "Yeah, we do that." And he said, in fact, just the other night, the Welsh singer Duffy was playing a gig in Rome where he was. And
national treasure.
Yeah, apparently. Well, they're all national treasures for you, like.
They're all national.
And then he messaged his mate and just said, "Duffy's in town. She's Welsh, you know."
She is Welsh.
Yeah, but it just goes to prove my point. You guys are very proud of other Welsh people. You don't see me telling you about half English, half Italian people all the time.
Who name a famous one?
Too many, if anything. Too many. I'd be
don't-
here all day.
I don't know.
All day, Tom. So many. I wouldn't even list one. It would be excluding of the others.
So what else? What else is in this issue?
Well, there's a very interesting piece. I commissioned one of our most kind of academical writers.
Academic
Writers.
That's not a word.
That's why I'm not writing it. He is. But to basically explore the future rise of the Chinese car industry. Now, it's a fascinating piece.
They love this podcast in China.
They do. My ears pricked up when we mentioned it earlier. But it's a fascinating thing because if you think about it, in the 1980s, the Chinese government wouldn't allow people to own a car.
Really?
It was considered personal property. It was a communist government, so they wouldn't allow personal ownership of a car. And now you're looking at 1 billion people. They're estimating the number of cars kind of sold from between now and then has been 200 million cars.
That's quite a lot.
And yes, there are you can read more about the piece about how it works in terms of importing and exporting foreign cars like your Mercedes and your Alphas and your Maseratis and your BMWs. However, that industry there is being widely supported by the government to grow the Chinese car industry, mainly for the internal market. But then what our writer's suggesting is in 50 years' time, that I wouldn't be surprised if, we were all driving Chinese cars.
What is your favorite Chinese car manufacturer?
Oh, I think there's one called Cherry.
Cherry?
Yeah. I like the name.
Cherry?
It's cute.
I like Great Wall Motors.
Great Wall Motors, yeah.
Yeah, they make a lot of trucks, which makes sense.
Yeah, that again is an absolutely fascinating read, especially if you're a motorhead, or especially if you kind of have a business savvy about what the opening up of new markets could and how that could happen and how that could affect the rest of us. But elsewhere,
I mean, there's what if? Let's pause it. What if I'm interested in men who dress well?
Well, literally one of the hallmarks of what we do here at Esquire is it's man at his best, it's style and substance. Now, we've spoken about the substance part of it, and this...
Have we?
Well, with the Chinese car
all right,
story,
yeah, gotcha.
The Basil world.
Academically.
The academically.
Yep.
And the style section of this, apart from, as we mentioned earlier, about the summer style, the summer and spring styles, is highlighted in our annual Best Dressed Men of the Golf list.
Yeah.
This is a widely celebrated hallmark of what we do here at Esquire, where every year we go out and we pick a selection of men that we've met or worked with or seen or noticed.
So who are these fancy dudes?
Well, there's 16 men selected by our fashion and fashion editorial team, and they are from 14 different countries.
14 different... Pity for the last two, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I think
Country-less.
I think there's 2 Germans and 2 Brits in there. They all live here in the UAE, but there's people from Jordan, Saudi, Iraq, UAE. There's a guy from, I believe, Belgium, Congo.
Congo, really?
Yeah, but they're all living and working here in our region, and men that really kind of take style trends and really adapt them to how they best see fits their personality. Again, it's one of the kind of hallmarks of our brand and something we really kind of get behind. And we want to celebrate these normal guys. They're not celebrities, they're not superstars, they're just normal men who just get style right, and they make style work for them. No one's telling them how to dress; they just interpret it and they let it speak for themselves and who they are. So in that we celebrate, and we're very proud of our lists. We're very proud of that list that we bring out every year, and this year is a particularly vintage crop.
Excellent. And also that list will be going online. Maybe we'll give it a week for the mag to be on shelves, and then that list will also go online.
Yeah, by all means.
For people to have a look at.
Yeah. Fair. Elsewhere, there is. I went and test drove a new Alfa Romeo, Tom.
Interesting.
The new Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quattrofoglio.
Stelvio sounds like a sweetener.
Like
if you
like
don't
an artificial sweetener.
Yeah,
for
you
your-
don't have
for your
sugar.
coffee?
Oh, I don't have sugar with my tea, but just give me a spoonful of Stelvio.
I get that, but it's actually it's actually from the famous in Italy in the Alps. There's a road called the Stelvio Pass, and it's a glorious bit of road. It's one of those that has like about 42 switchbacks where you kind of turn 180 on you as you go up. You keep winding up a mountain. So it's named after that. What's particularly interesting about this Alfa Romeo, the Quadrifoglio version, the Quadrifoglio in Italian, I'll tell you, means 4-leaf clover. So that is traditionally the badge that Alfa Romeo used for their high performance and racing vehicles.
But see, I would assume that a 4-leaf clover would relate to something to do with Ireland. It being their like national symbol.
Yeah, I think so. I think it comes back from the 1920s when Alfa for one of their earlier big kind of races on the racing circuit. I forget what cars they were driving, but they put a sticker of the 4-leaf clover on the car for good luck.
For good luck.
And they won. So from then on, being superstitious people as Italians tend to be, that kind of went on forward, and that's actually become very much part of the identity of Alfa Romeo. So if you can buy the Stelvio, but you can also buy a Stelvio Quattrofoglio, which is, again...
like their performance range.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So that car we took up to Jebel Jais. That was a hell of a fun drive. And I'll tell you something for nothing. Alfa Romeo are back, and you're going to hear a lot more, and you're going to see a lot more of them on the roads here in the UAE and in the rest of the Gulf.
Yeah, good.
And for more of that review and for other things we drew, we're in this issue. We also drive the Aston Martin Vantage, and we look at the Lincoln Navigator. So plenty of automotive stuff, plenty of fashion stuff, plenty of personal styling and substance in this issue. I would always implore you to pick it up, but then again, I am biased. But I would encourage you to buy the magazine, have a read, and if you're not happy, come talk to me, and I'll find out why. But I'm pretty convinced that you will be.
Talk to him.
Yeah, you can email me at noreply@esquire. No, I'm just joking.
All right, let's move on to the next bit because we will be talking to someone else, and it won't be Matt. Right, so now we're at the third part of the podcast, where traditionally we talk to a man or a woman who represents the ideals of the Esquire brand. So Matt, you took care of this segment this week. What are we about to hear?
So yeah, as mentioned earlier, I'm a big professional wrestling WWE fan, and I have been working with the lovely people at WWE 2K Games for the release of WWE 2K18. And I was over in New Orleans for WrestleMania, where I got a chance to meet a lot of the wrestlers and talk to them and interview them ahead of time. One of the people that I did get to interview ahead of not only on WrestleMania weekend, but also ahead of an event called the Greatest Royal Rumble event, which was in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, in this month. And the man is called Aiden English. He is in a tag team.
Is he English?
He's not. He's American.
Oh.
It says, but people can be called, Timmy Welsh, if you will, Tom.
Is he a wrestler as well?
No, I made that one up. He's a mythical person.
Aren't all wrestlers made up?
No, absolutely not. No. John Cena is his real name.
Fair.
Yeah. Brock Lesnar, he's real. The Undertaker, real name Undertaker. Not true.
And then Taker.
Do you know what the Undertaker's real name is, Tom?
Jeffrey Donovan.
Mark Calloway. Mean Mark Calloway, as he used to be wrestling.
It was a good guess.
No. But speaking of the Undertaker, he's actually wrestling on the card in Saudi Arabia at the Greatest Royal Rumble event in Jeddah. But ahead of that, I spoke to Aiden English, who is in a tag team with the Bulgarian brute Rusev. And I quizzed him about the greatest things. Here's a clip.
Everybody, I'm Aiden English on this fine Rusev day, here with Esquire Middle East, and we're about to play the 10 Greatest.
So who is the greatest wrestler?
So the greatest wrestler besides today, Rusev, and myself, of course, for me, it's got to be Shawn Michaels, HBK, best of all time, hands down.
What is the greatest finishing move?
Greatest finishing move, again, is the director's cut, because that's my finishing move. You haven't had a chance to see it a whole lot, but other than that, it's got to be the accolade.
What is the greatest catchphrase?
I don't mean to be offensive, but this is a bad question, because everyone knows the greatest phrase in the history of mankind is Happy Rusev Day.
What is the greatest WrestleMania moment?
So, for me, there's so many WrestleMania moments, so many that have touched me in a lot of ways. So for me, there's two that stick out to mind. Number one of my favorite, and I'm wearing the shirt, is the moment Eddie Guerrero at the end of WrestleMania 20 had the chance to have a really, really great moment with a friend of his and everything like that. So it was really personal, and it's a personal thing to me and my family. So that's my favorite WrestleMania moment.
What's the greatest wrestling crowd?
This question, greatest wrestling crowd, is almost impossible to answer because they're different everywhere you go. And not better or worse, that's the thing. I've been in crowds, I'm going to cop out on this answer. I will. It's going to be a bad one because we just went to Chile and they were electric, chanting the weirdest things I've ever had chanted at me. But we'll go to El Paso, Texas, and they're on fire. We go to England. We go to the Middle East, we go to Japan, and they're different because they're quiet there, but then they explode. So that's the great thing about this career, is seeing different people all over the world. So I know that's not a great answer, but I love seeing everybody all over the world.
What's the greatest gimmick?
Greatest gimmick is whatever you can get away with.
What is the greatest matchup you can have in WWE 2K18?
The greatest matchup in WWE 2K18 you can have is, you know what? It's Aiden English versus Rusev to see who truly would be the master of Rusev Day.
And what is the greatest day?
This question is simple because the greatest day is what everybody knows and what 70,000 people here in New Orleans will say to you on Sunday. The greatest day is Rusev Day.
Well, that was Aiden English live from New Orleans when we were there. Again, that's courtesy of 2K18 Games and the greatest Royal Rumble event in Saudi Arabia. It's on the WWE Network. That's the interview for this week, Tom. Nice and short this week, I thought. I thought we'd keep it a bit shorter. Last week was quite a lengthy one, but great with Biffy Clyro. This one is a little bit more digestible.
So, that is it. We do hope that you enjoyed the Esquire Man at His Best podcast. Remember that we have new episodes that come out each and every week. You can listen to them. Well, presumably, you've already listened to them via one of these ways, but here are some other ones. Apple iTunes, SoundCloud, Pocket Casts, and more. And we also host each individual show on our website, which is www. I don't actually think you need the www.
You really don't. In fact, the guy who invented the www thing has apologized for it.
Oh, well, serves him right.
Not personally, not to me.
Oh,
but I think to the world.
He ought to.
Yeah.
Anyway, esquireme.com.
Yeah.
HTTP. Also, please don't forget to check out our YouTube and social media accounts for more daily goings on from us, the Esquire Middle East team, which, as you know, Matt, is the largest men's luxury lifestyle title in the region, potentially the world. Fun fact, they love us in China.
Oh, Matt, especially after this show.
After this, we've got a lot more viewers / listeners. Yeah. All right, see you next week.
Cool. Go buy the magazine. Go visit our website. Visit us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and tune in next week.
We love you, China.
Bye-bye.